There was something truly special about Britain in the 1960s. It was a decade when British car makers stood proudly among the very best in the world. Across the country, skilled craftsmen carefully shaped steel panels by hand, stitched soft leather interiors, and polished real walnut dashboards to perfection. Every luxury saloon that left the factory carried more than just passengers. It carried Britain's reputation for quality, elegance, and engineering excellence. Back then, names like Rolls-Royce, Jaguar, Bentley, Daimler, and Alvis weren't simply building cars. They were creating symbols of success. Business leaders, government officials, celebrities, and even members of the royal family trusted these magnificent machines. They weren't built to impress for a few years, they were built to last for decades. But here's the surprising twist. Many of these once famous luxury cars have quietly faded into history. Some were overshadowed by changing technology. Others disappeared as famous British manufacturers struggled to survive. And a few became so rare that most people today have never even seen one in person. Yet every one of them tells the story of a time when Britain led the world in luxury motoring. So today, we're counting down 10 magnificent British luxury saloons from the 1960s that combined breathtaking craftsmanship, timeless design, and engineering that still earns respect more than half a century later. And by the time we reach number 1, you'll discover a car that many enthusiasts still consider the greatest British luxury saloon ever built. Let's begin. Number 10. Rover P5 3-liter. Our countdown begins with a car that never needed to shout for attention. The Rover P5 3-liter represented quiet confidence. Originally introduced in 1998 and refined throughout the early 1960s, it quickly became the favorite transport of Britain's establishment. Judges, senior civil servants, government ministers, and even members of the royal family appreciated its understated elegance. Unlike some luxury cars that relied on flashy styling, the P5 impressed through dignity. Its long, formal body featured tasteful chrome, graceful proportions, and a presence that demanded respect without appearing extravagant. Under the bonnet sat a smooth 3.0-liter straight-six engine producing around 115 horsepower. It wasn't built for speed. Instead, it focused on effortless cruising, quiet refinement, and dependable performance. Step inside and the craftsmanship became even more impressive. Buyers could choose beautifully finished Connolly leather or luxurious West of England cloth seats, surrounded by polished walnut veneers and precision-built controls that reflected Britain's famous attention to detail. Driving the P5 felt calm and composed. The steering was light, the suspension absorbed rough roads with ease, and passengers traveled in remarkable comfort. Everything seemed perfect, but then came the turning point. As newer executive cars arrived during the late 1960s and changing tastes began reshaping the luxury market, the once dominant Rover P5 slowly slipped into the background. Models that had once symbolized authority gradually disappeared from Britain's roads. Today, however, surviving examples are treasured by collectors who recognize exactly what the P5 represented. It wasn't simply a luxury saloon, it was Britain's quiet symbol of prestige, dignity, and engineering excellence. Number 7. Daimler 2.5 V8. At number 7 is a luxury car that often lived in someone else's shadow. At first glance, many people mistook the Daimler 2.5 V8 for a Jaguar. The elegant body looked familiar, and from a distance, few could tell the difference. But underneath, this was a very different machine. Introduced in 1962 after Jaguar acquired Daimler, the car blended Jaguar's beautiful styling with Daimler's own unique engineering. Instead of using Jaguar's famous straight-six engine, Daimler fitted a compact 2.5-liter V8 designed by legendary engineer Edward Turner, producing around 140 horsepower. The little V8 was incredibly smooth and surprisingly powerful. Whether paired with a manual gearbox or a BorgWarner automatic, it delivered effortless performance that made every journey feel refined. The real luxury continued inside. Passengers were welcomed by beautifully crafted fluted leather seats, polished walnut trim, thick carpets, and a dashboard filled with elegant instruments. Every switch felt solid, every detail reflected craftsmanship, and every driver reminded owners why Daimler had earned such a respected reputation. It quickly became a favorite among barristers, successful business owners, and professionals who wanted prestige without attracting too much attention. They appreciated its quiet confidence, its smooth handling, its remarkable comfort. For a while, it seemed Daimler had created the perfect compact luxury saloon, but then came the twist. Although the car was excellent, Jaguar's own name continued growing stronger across the world. Most buyers chose the Jaguar badge, leaving the Daimler quietly overlooked. Sales never reached the levels many expected. As the years passed, more and more examples disappeared from Britain's roads. forgotten by all but dedicated enthusiasts. Today, collectors recognize what many people missed decades ago. The Daimler 2.5 V8 wasn't simply a badge-engineered Jaguar. It was one of Britain's smoothest, most refined luxury saloons and one of the hidden gems of the 1960s. Number 6. Alvis TD21. Now we arrive at one of Britain's most exclusive luxury cars. The Alvis TD21 wasn't built for the masses. It was built for people who wanted something truly special. Handcrafted in Coventry and produced in very limited numbers, every TD21 received extraordinary attention from skilled craftsmen. Unlike large manufacturers producing thousands of cars each year, Alvis focused on quality rather than quantity, and it showed. Power came from a refined 3.0-liter straight-six engine producing around 120 horsepower. Smooth, reliable, and wonderfully quiet, it offered effortless grand touring performance whether paired with a manual gearbox or an automatic transmission. But the engine was only part of the story. The TD21 handled beautifully. Its precise steering, balanced suspension, and composed ride made long-distance journeys relaxing while still giving enthusiastic drivers plenty to enjoy on winding British roads. Step inside, and the craftsmanship became even more impressive. Customers could personalize almost every detail. Connolly leather in colors of their choice, beautiful walnut or mahogany veneers, hand-finished instruments. Every cabin was carefully assembled, making no two cars exactly alike. Owning an Alvis wasn't about showing wealth, it was about appreciating true craftsmanship. Landowners, successful professionals, and collectors who valued exclusivity often chose Alvis over more famous luxury brands. For them, rarity was part of the appeal. Then came the unexpected turning point. As Britain's motor industry changed and mass production became the future, companies like Alvis found it increasingly difficult to compete. Hand-built luxury cars became expensive to produce, customer numbers declined, and eventually the company ended passenger car production. One of Britain's finest coach-built manufacturers quietly disappeared. Today, surviving TD21s are among the rarest British grand touring cars of the era. Each one serves as a reminder of a time when luxury wasn't measured by technology or screens, but by the hands of skilled craftsmen who built every car with patience, pride, and remarkable attention to detail. Number 5. Bentley S3. We've reached the halfway point, and now the luxury becomes even more extraordinary. The Bentley S3, introduced in 1962, represented everything people admired about traditional British motoring. Built by hand at the famous Crewe factory, it combined timeless elegance with engineering so refined that many believed it would never be surpassed. At first glance, the S3 looked graceful rather than aggressive. Its long bonnet, elegant chrome grille, flowing body lines, and unmistakable Bentley presence made it impossible to ignore. This was the kind of car that quietly announced success without ever needing to show up. Beneath that beautiful body sat a magnificent 6.2-liter V8 engine. Power was delivered almost silently, allowing the Bentley to glide effortlessly along Britain's motorways. Whether traveling through the countryside or arriving outside London's finest hotels, every journey felt calm, smooth, and dignified. Inside, the craftsmanship reached another level. Every leather seat was hand-stitched. The walnut veneers were carefully matched by skilled craftsmen. Deep Wilton carpets covered the floor, while polished chrome and beautifully engineered controls reminded owners that nothing inside the car had been rushed. Business leaders, industrialists, members of the aristocracy, they all admired the Bentley because it offered the same exceptional engineering as Rolls-Royce, but with a slightly sportier personality. For many years, it represented the very best of British luxury, but then came the turning point. The Bentley S3 became one of the last truly hand-built luxury saloons before history moved in a completely different direction. Today, surviving examples are among the most admired British classics ever produced. They remind us of a time when luxury wasn't measured by technology. It was measured by craftsmanship, patience, and perfection.